Hey team, in this video I'm going to give you a quick rundown on what you can expect going into the Hawkins Lab map on Dead by Daylight. This map was added with the Stranger Things update along with the Demogorgon Killer, Nancy Wheeler, and Steve Harrington survivors. To beginner and veteran survivors alike, this map is regarded as one of the very few killer-sided maps. And for good reason. Almost all the pallets here appear to be unsafe, but with this guide I'm hoping to show you that you can really get a lot out of this map and the pallets that are here. The first few things that I want to show you are room types. You've got small square rooms, big rectangular rooms, and special rooms, as well as the hallways. There are 5 small rooms in each map, and about as many variations, which means you'll see each one every time you spawn into this map. As for rectangular rooms, there are 6 variations, but only 3 spawn in each map. This means that each of these will be different each time you come here. Special rooms never change. They're like the landmark buildings on every other map. They don't change inside or out. So while the locations on everything else is the same, only the special rooms stay the same on the inside each time. And of course, the hallways. The hallways is how you get between each room. There's a scattering of pallets in each one of these hallways, probably. And a few of them are pretty weak, and a few of them are pretty strong, but usually they're deceptive. Later on, I'll show you exactly what to do with each of these. First up, you've got the small square rooms. Most of these rooms have fairly weak pallets, sometimes medium strength pallets, and they sometimes have an upper floor like this one. Though I would stay away from these upper floor vaults, they tend to be death traps like this one. However, this one has 2 entrances to its upper floor where you can vault both ways, or you can simply use the upper floor as a larger looping area and then eventually throw the pallet whenever the killer gets close. Most of the time though, you're just going to have these fairly weak pallets with only one side that you only use to stun the killer and not much else. So stay away from these rooms unless they're the only things around, but most of the time you'll be able to find something else. There's quite a bit to find in this map. Next on the list is the large rectangular rooms. There are 6 variations of this room, and they each spawn 3 on a map. Now I'll go through these in terms of strength, 1 being weak, 6 being strong, of which we have the first. I will call it no stair because there are no staircases compared to almost all of the other ones. On this particular room, you just have boxes and debris and barrels with 2 medium strength pallets and lots of doorways. This room is fairly featureless, and it just has these pallets, and that's it. I think there's a totem spawn in here and maybe a generator spawn, some lockers for head-on, but other than that, there's not much going for this particular room. Number 2, 1 stair. It's called that because it has a singular staircase up and down. It has a pallet here and a pallet here. Both are about medium strength. And then up in the upper level, you have 2 vaults. One right at the top of the stairs, and then a second one right next to this hatch. Then you have the hatch itself. All of these drop downs are fairly strong and will get you close enough to a pallet to save your life most times. Usually you'll be able to connect this into hallway pallets fairly easily. Number 3, you have 2 stair. Called that because there's stairways 2 ways up and down. This room has 2 fairly medium strength pallets here and here, 2 ways up, a vault on this side, as well as openings here and here, and a vault next to the open hatch, which again, you can fall down this. It's safe enough to get close to a pallet, which you can then throw and hopefully stun the killer, and there are several openings to escape the room. Fourth, you have the catwalk, named because there's a catwalk in the middle of the room. And on either side, you have a pallet here and a pallet here. Generally, as Survivor, you can just loop this middle catwalk, and whenever the killer gets close, you throw the pallet, and they have to go around this small area or up onto the catwalk to try and catch you. But usually, as long as you keep them at a fair distance, these are very safe pallets, and you won't have to worry about getting caught unless they get broken. Number 5, you've got middle hatch. Named so because of this hatch dead center of the room. This upper level, you've got the hatch, and you've got this vault right here. That's about it for vaults, but you also have 2 ways up, 2 ways down, and 2 pallets. This one here of medium strength, and this one over here is actually quite strong. If you manage to get the killer on the other side of it, you can run up this staircase either down the hatch or over the vault, and you can just continue running them that way. And they'll have a hard time catching you if they vault it themselves, or even if they try to walk down. As long as you keep them within your eyesight, you should be fine. And last, number 6, but certainly not least, pallet wall. Now, pallet wall is special because it is both rare and quite unique for this map. First, unremarkably, has a rather weak pallet right here. There's not a real way to run this, so stun the killer for sure. However, you do have this pallet right here that makes up a whole wall. This is very strong. If you trap the killer on that side, they have to break it, or they have to go up this walkway here. They can go up this walkway, but if they do, you're free to run around this entire area all the way back around just to vault it, and then they have to do it again. And if you notice, and this is usually the case, there's another pallet in between here that if you throw, it makes their trip even longer and yours the same length. So if you have this pallet here, this is about as strong as a god pallet in Shack, so you might not want to waste it. Also, there's a totem hidden there. Don't waste it lightly. If you do, it's not the worst thing in the world. Just know how to play around it. Plus the fact that there's so many other pallets on the map that even if you waste just this one, it's not going to be missed in the grand scheme of things. Special rooms. First, we'll go over the staircase rooms, as there's not really a whole lot here. Maybe some lockers. But other than that, they're just an area where the staircase to the upper level goes. However, on this side, there's a pallet and some debris, and this area is where the basement can spawn. Another special room is the upper floor, accessed through one of the stairwells. This is a rather large dead zone. You use it to make space. When the killer's behind you, you can exit it through the other stairway and this hole right here. There is a totem up here and a generator, as well as this room over here that is peculiar because it has one of the weakest pallets in the entire game, which I think is quite interesting. Next up, you have the Rift Lab Room. This is where the rift is kept. You have this long wall with a very safe window here. You generally want to hug the window, and if they come through the vault, you can very easily run back around and either revault the window or go to that pallet. Alternatively, if you revault the window, you can go up the stairs into either one of these 2 drop downs, here and here, and then eventually make it back to this pallet. Otherwise, if you vault the window and they don't follow you through the window and they come around that way, you should be able to just revault the window and leave the room this way, making it to another small room or a larger rectangular room here. Also, it's worth noting, this is the other area that the basement can spawn. And finally, we'll get to the bulk of the map, the hallways. In these hallways, there are quite a few pallets like this one that appear to be very weak because there's just debris surrounding them and they're up against a wall. Not very strong. However, if used correctly, these ones can be some of the strongest. Take for instance, if you're being chased from that direction right there, if you throw this down like so, the killer has to either go around the debris to follow you or break the pallet. In which case, if they follow you, you can just run around this way. Vault this pallet, go around, and you're back at this pallet. In order to follow you, they will have to go all the way around this debris, as well as that pallet, in order to catch up. This will make it very difficult for the killer to catch up since you cross these areas much quicker. As long as you keep track by watching behind you and both sides, stopping at every corner to keep track of the killer, you should be able to make quite a bit out of these pallets. So watch out for setups like this in order to make the most of the pallets on this map. This is another setup like before. You have a pallet there that might have already been thrown. The killer's coming from that direction or even that direction. You can run and throw the pallet and then use this whole area to make lots of distance, just running him around this large wall, keeping track at every turn so that you don't get caught. Something you'll find in the hallways as well will be these rather weak pallets that are up against large walls. You won't want to use these as this area going around them is pretty small, and if you throw it without stunning the killer on that side or the other side, the killer can just walk around it and continue hitting you. Now you could try to chain these together if there was an entrance right here, or even try to use this one, but there's so much room between here and there that it's usually quite difficult. So unless you have something like live, I would not suggest trying to do that. And that's it with the video. I know this map is a bit confusing the first few times that you play it, but hopefully you can refer back to this guide anytime you need to get a grip on how to run it as Survivor. If you think this video was useful, share it with your friends, send it to your favorite content creators, give me a comment, a like, and subscribe on tell me what I could do better. All that good stuff. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to be going through a couple of other maps in depth like this. Maybe comment down below if you have one in mind that you want to see. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Something interesting I noticed while making this video that I'll go over before we start everything else is that if you press escape and you look down at map info, it says Hawkins National Laboratory, the underground complex, T_01, rectangle lab 04. Now that appears to be the room we're in. So if you move to the next room, you do it again, square storage 03. So it appears as though you can actually find out what room you're in just by looking at the game info, which I have never noticed on any other map, which actually makes me curious. Is there any other map that tells you where you are? If I go to Midwich and look at the classrooms, will it tell me which classroom I'm in? I'm not sure. I'll have to get back to you. I thought this was interesting.